It's time to have a conversation about healing, and not the physical healing we're talking about, but the emotional kind after tragedy. How do we turn it into compassion? Dr. Aleksandra Drecun joins us, a clinical psychologist, and thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.
This comes on the heels of the story about the violence that we've just seen increasing in the United States. And now there's even some countries that are warning people about coming to the United States and being very careful around officers and that sort of thing. So, you know, we see this, but we also see incidents of compassion. How do we change this, the way things seem to be turning?
Well, that's a great question. I think we really have to focus on the narrative, what we're telling ourselves and the belief systems that we're creating, because, you know, there is a distrust between, say, Black Americans and the police. It's not, you know, universal everywhere. And we don't want it to create a division within our communities. We want our citizens to feel a sense of connection to their communities and to feel integrated and whole. And there needs to be an open and honest dialogue, you know, within our communities, but also to know that in order to heal and move forward, we really have to deal with this in a sensitive way and in a compassionate way, to know that we're more alike than we are different, and that we want everybody to be treated with justice, but also to be careful the way that we talk and the way that we, you know, the belief systems that we entail, that, you know, we're all one and we all want to live in harmony, peace together. And our diversity, I think, is one of our greatest strengths.
And it's hard when our children are starting to watch what's going on in the news and how am I supposed to feel and all of those things. So let's break it down then a little further. So diversity. Let's talk about diversity being the country's strength. So how do we convey that message?
Well, I think this is why we love, you know, our country, is that people coming from diversity, they bring so much richness to our culture, to the culture that we live in the United States. And I think that, you know, we want to honor that and we want to appreciate that.
And then trust. Obviously, it's very fragile right now.
Yes, it is very fragile, and I think that we have to move forward in a way that is really thoughtful and considerate of others, but also to know that I think that as a whole, I think we get along more so than sometimes the media portrays. And I think that we all want to live in peaceful communities, and we all want to be connected to one another, even if we're different. And I think our, you know, differences can actually be helpful at times.
Yeah, you know, you see these messages on Facebook, and then these pictures of these skeletons, and it has the race under each skeleton, but they all look exactly the same. Saying, you know, this is,
yes,
we're all the same underneath.
Yes, we're all the same underneath, and I think that's what we need to remember, is that we are one human race. And I think if we treat each other with sensitivity and compassion, we can move forward with healing.
And then you had a quote in the notes that I read about you, the most authentic thing about us. What is that?
Is that we can move beyond our suffering. So all of us go through life, you know, we can't go unscathed. We all have wounds, and we all, you know, deal with our own difficult moments. But I think that those difficulties can really provoke a sense of self-growth in all of us, and even as a humanity, as a society.
Okay, so today, starting today, how can we start the change, influence the change?
I think we need to start by remembering that we're more alike than we're different. We're one human race. Let's treat each other the way that we want to be treated, that golden rule.
Do you see people in your practice, because you deal with all kinds of issues with people, do you see people that can change if they have very limited viewpoints on what they see, or hatred of some kind? Have you seen that?
I think people can change. I think we're wired for personal growth. I think as long as we want it, we can get it.
Okay, well, that's good. And then if people have any more questions for you, how can they reach you?
Best way is just either by giving me a phone call or by email.
Okay, all right. Thanks so much for being with us.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.